Look at Stitch. God. My poor heart. Okay, so this is more than just a moment of distance. It symbolizes the deep disappointment of someone who has worked so hard to help the shadow grow, only to feel like they've regressed. Lilo, who has put so much faith and effort into Stitch, experiences a moment where her belief in him wavers for the first time. It reflects the frustration many people face when they've tried countless ways to change only to feel like they're back to where they started. And this is the self-blame cycle so many of us go through. Investing in growth, trying to be different, and then falling back into old patterns, leading to feelings of failure. Let me know if that sounds familiar, eh? And Stitch, sensing Lilo's disappointment, feels the heavy weight of shame, not just for his outburst, but for letting down the person who believed in him. This mirrors the real-life struggle of shadow work, where setbacks often trigger self-blame and shame, pulling us further away from healing. Lilo's retreat to sit near Nani reflects a very human response, a need for space and grounding after being overwhelmed by the shadow's unpredictability. It's not a sign of giving up, but rather a moment to process the disappointment before re-engaging. This highlights how growth is never linear, and setbacks are a natural part of the journey, so get used to them. Yeah,
Hey,
one of those days.
how's it? Nani?
We've been having a bad day.
That's an understatement. Oh, poor Nani. Come on, Devin, make it better.
Be a doctor, but I know that there's no better cure for a sour face than a couple of boards and some choice waves. What do you think?
I think you're God
I think
sent.
that's a great idea.
This man is basically formed by green flags. I'm surprised his skin is not green. David demonstrates emotional intelligence by reading the room and recognizing the sadness and disappointment in Nani and Lilo. Instead of forcing them to talk about their feelings or offering empty reassurances at the end of the day, he suggests an activity that can help them reconnect and release some of the tension in a gentle, non-intrusive way. He does what everyone should do in this situation. He doesn't make himself the protagonist, but he becomes an emotional anchor and provide a way for the girls to ground and relax. His approach is also so humble and considerate, as he understands they're in a fragile state and offers a positive coping mechanism that can momentarily lift their spirits without pressuring them to confront their emotions head on. Man, I would love to know how to surf, but I barely know how to swim, so. I dare you to not have a smile on during this scene. This scene beautifully captures the enduring bond between the self and the shadow. Even though Lilo, the self, may seem carefree and having fun, her shadow, Stitch, is struggling in the background with shame, blame, and fear. Stitch has never known fun before. He's skeptical and reluctant, but at the same time, he longs for the kind of connection Lilo is offering. Lilo is showing him that revealing his pleasant side to the world can be beneficial. While Stitch doesn't seem ready to fully embrace that, he's learning that by staying connected to the self, he can be present and enjoy what's happening around him. Man, why do I feel like crying? No, no, no! Yeah, that's bad, David.
Lilo!
David. My Italian is kicking in. Davide, andiamo! Davide! This is another moment of reaching out for help. Though he hasn't fully realized that he belongs with Lilo, I think he's slowly getting there. He's terrified at first, of course. He's basically going against his nature, but this time he expresses his fear without lashing out. Great progress, even though nobody acknowledges it. In fact, he even reaches out to Nani for support, showing that the shadow is becoming more comfortable in its interactions, but it also comes as a consequence of Nani giving the power to Lilo to accept Stitch. But just as Stitch begins to experience joy, external forces threaten his sense of security. In that moment, the shadow grips onto the self, hoping to be saved. This illustrates how the shadow, while growing and integrating, is still vulnerable and seeks safety in its connection to the self. Yeah, you see, Davide is going for it.
He's unconscious, but I think he's alive.
Oh, come on, give him a break, Jesus. Mr. Bubbles. Mr. Bubbles, do not even. Mr. Bubbles.
It's just that.
Come on, you must have seen the fun, right?
I know you're trying, Nani, but you need to think about what's best for Lilo.
God, I hate it that he's right.
Even if it removes you from the picture.
Yeah, but you don't have all the
Back
facts.
tomorrow morning for Lilo.
Already, man.
I'm sorry.
I need to take Lilo home now.
Yeah.
We have a lot to talk about, you know? Thanks.
You know, I really believed they had a chance. Then you came along.
Another disappointing moment in the journey of self-acceptance, which is long and challenging. The world around Stitch fails to acknowledge his progress, change, and incredible commitment. They continue to judge the situation as if nothing has shifted. And this is why many times you need mental health professionals. Because the people around you will struggle to see your very small progress, but a professional can actually let you know when that progress is happening. Now, this is a crucial moment in any journey of growth, as it's easy to become overly critical of yourself when others can't see or understand the progress you've made. Mr. Bubbles and David's word reflect external pressure rather than outright judgment of Stitch, but for him, it feels like confirmation that he'll never be seen as anything more than just a monster, especially now that the self, meaning Lilo, is distracted and unable to fully support him. When those around him signal that he's to blame for everything, Stitch begins to internalize this message and actually starts to believe it.
Lilo, honey.
How do you explain something like this? Okay, I cannot do this in English.
Aloha, oe. Aloha, oe. Eke o na o na noho. Eka
Starai come aoina oi eundi tiri vedro. God, no. How can cartoons wreck me so much emotionally? It's unbelievable. This shouldn't be legal.
Before, it was rainy and they went for a drive. What happened to yours? I know that's why you wreck things and push me.
She's so mature.
Our family's little now, and we don't have many toys. But if you want, you could be part of it. You could be our baby. Then we'd raise you to be good. Ohana means family. Family means nobody gets left behind. But if you want to leave, you can. I'll remember you though. I remember everyone that leaves.
Oh, sweetie. Now, Lilo acknowledges why Stitch behaves the way he does, understanding that it's rooted in the shared pain of losing their parents. They are, after all, part of the same self, at least in my theory. Lilo tells him he can stay and they can help him become good, but that's not who the shadow is. The shadow isn't inherently good or bad. It represents the parts of ourselves we suppress or struggle to accept. And this is why Stitch takes so long to understand that he belongs with Lilo, because her offer of acceptance comes with a condition. You can stay, but only if you're good, only if you're like me. Faced with this conditional acceptance, Stitch chooses to leave, thinking it's what's best for everyone. The shadow, of course, cannot truly leave the self, but this decision represents a state of deep depression, lack of self-worth, and confusion. And it goes very well with what is happening in this moment of the story. Stitch's departure symbolizes the feeling of being unworthy of belonging, unable to meet the conditions set by the self for full acceptance. His struggle reflects how we often push away parts of ourselves when we feel they don't fit into the standards we, or society, set for what is good.